It is VSiN's Betcenter. I'm Jeff Parles. Happy to be with you. Still with us, Jon Jansen of Fox Sports The Gambler in Philadelphia. He hosts the Line Change on that great station, 8 to 11, Monday through Friday. John, let's continue on. Fade or follow the Circa million consensus for Week 7. If you're just tuning in, the number one consensus play, the Indianapolis Colts getting 4 from the 49ers. John and I both faded that. The number 3 consensus play was the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, with John being a radio host in Philadelphia, we started there. We both followed the consensus on the Eagles getting 3. And now we're going to go to Baltimore, just down I-95 from where John is. The Ravens, 6.5-point favorites against the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals come in as the second consensus play with 1,422 people in the contest taking the Bengals. You still see 6.5 right now with juice on Cincinnati at DraftKings, minus 115, total 45.5. John, are you fading or following the consensus pick of the Cincinnati Bengals at getting 6.5 points plus 6.5?
Oh, I'm following this one. We're all eating good in the neighborhood, man. This is a good one here. I like the 6.5 with Cincinnati, and I think we've kind of, at least with the Ravens, gone a little bit too far. I know they're 5-1 and they look great. And Lamar Jackson, I've been singing his praises forever. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, probably playing at this point like the best quarterback. But after that Chargers game, I feel like there's going to be a little bit too much skewed into the Ravens' favor here. And I know they're at home too, which obviously helps. But I think this is a little bit of a closer matchup. I don't think the Ravens' defense is as good as what we saw in that Chargers game. That was more of the Chargers going from West to East Coast. Still a pretty young and inexperienced team, especially at the key positions like quarterback and also at head coach as well. I thought that was just a really tough spot for the Chargers. This could potentially be a tough spot for Cincinnati, but with it being a divisional matchup, I think this is going to be a really tough game for both teams and a close matchup. And 6.5 points seems like a lot. And Cincinnati, I've kind of been betting against, and of course not doing very well doing that because they've actually played some really good football. I just think at this point, Joe Burrow and this offense have kind of showed they're good enough to be able to stay in a game like this, and I think they're going to be able to put up plenty of points against this Ravens defense. I like them getting the 6.5 points here, so I'm going to follow that one.
We're 3 for 3. Cincinnati contest play for us this week. So we're following. We're in the consensus. They're on number 2 and number 3 on Philadelphia and Cincinnati. John, there are a few things here. This is one of those spots where I wouldn't mind fading both if they weren't playing each other. Cincinnati coming off a blowout beatdown of Detroit the week before. Let's face it, they should have beat Green Bay. That was a game they probably should have won. Baltimore coming off a beatdown of the Chargers, a wackadoo win and a non-cover against Indianapolis. Their other wins this year, Kansas City game was a wild game. They were fortunate to win. They needed the historically long field goal against Detroit by Tucker to win that game. Week 1 again, and heck, week 1 against Vegas, that was a game they probably should have won, and they blew in overtime. And at the end of regulation, with giving up 45 yards to Carlson, 45 yards to the Raiders to set up the long Carlson field goal that sent the game to overtime. Now, look, this is one of those spots for Cincinnati, John, where if the Bengals have fully turned the corner, they will be competitive this game and will have a real chance to win this game outright. By the way, Baltimore is a bye next week, so there's no quote-unquote look-ahead spot here at all. But, John, I can't believe I'm about to say this sentence. I like what I've seen from Zach Taylor. He doesn't have that bewildered look on his face anymore. And he finally has adjusted to his team, knows his offensive talent, and has really coached some really good games so far. So this has been a total mismatch over the last 5 years. No shock. Cincinnati's been terrible. Baltimore's been really good. Lamar Jackson seemingly has one highlight you remember from every one of these matchups since he started his MVP run 2 years ago. But I think this is a tight game, and it wouldn't shock me if Cincinnati stuns Baltimore outright. So I'll take 6.5 with the Bengals, John.
Yeah, I'm going to take 6.5 and a couple of things there. This defense is not what, like you just said, they're much better than what they were in those past games against Lamar Jackson. So I don't expect Lamar, those 40-point games. I don't think this is one that's going to happen. But with the Zach Taylor thing, I don't even want to give a lot of credit to Zach Taylor because I think he's one of the bigger problems I have with this game. He might get outcoached by John Harbaugh, but it's the same thing we're seeing with Arizona. It's not necessarily the coach that's really doing well. It's the fact that there is an abundance of talent. And let's be honest, Cincinnati actually has talent to work with. Jamar Chase is the best receiver of this rookie draft class, and he's already turning into one of the best receivers in the NFL at this point. And that's already dealing with the fact that T. Higgins was a great rookie wide receiver last year, and he's doing tremendous this year. And Tyler Boyd has kind of been lost in the void because of those two guys on the outside, Higgins and Chase, just doing a phenomenal job, and Joe Mixon's a great running back. So there is actually talent on this Cincinnati team. Like, I don't want to look past this and just go, oh, it's Joe Burrow throwing to nobody. There's talent, and I think that's been shown a lot. And Joe Burrow is getting much more comfortable as well. So, yeah, I think Cincinnati can hold strong in this game because of all of that. And I don't think it's going to be that Lamar Jackson typical, 40-point game he's had against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's much better than that now.
Tyler Boyd lost in the void. I think that's the proudest I've ever been of you, Jon Jansen, for that line right there.
I was proud of it, too.
That was very good.
I hope it didn't show as I said it because I was really proud of it.
That's real good there. Bengals, we're both following, plus 6.5 against the Baltimore Ravens. All right, John, I'm going to say this right now. This game that we're talking about next, Kansas City at Tennessee, I don't think you can make a total that's high enough in this game. You're seeing 57.5. I still think that game is a really good over, even at that astronomically high total, because both of these defenses stink, and both of these offenses are really darn good. And Derrick Henry is a special talent that there's no equal to him in the NFL at that position. The consensus play in this game was Tennessee, 1,104. That's good for number 5 consensus on Tennessee, plus 4.5, a consensus play against Kansas City. John, I'm going to say this first. I have no feel for the side on this game. I think this game is probably close, but I have no confidence on either side. So I'm going to go with fade just because I have no confidence. Would it shock me if Tennessee wins this game outright? No. Would it shock me if Tennessee loses by 2 touchdowns? Not at all. I like the total more than anything in this. If it drops to 57 or even 56.5, I'll very happily take it over at a better number, but I still think that's good at 57.5. Both of these defenses stink, and I don't think these offenses are going to punt much and have many empty possessions. And, John, we have about 2 minutes here for your answer on fade or follow on KC and Tennessee Titans plus 4.5.
Yeah, I'm going to fade that one as well, just because it's been 2 really tough games for Tennessee to begin with. So that already, the Bills last week and now this week, Kansas City. But one thing I am concerned about, I know Derrick Henry's fine, and he's had, 3 rushing touchdowns in 2 straight games, and, he could be close to having over 1,000 yards in a couple of weeks, which is just crazy to think about halfway through the year that he could do that. But the one problem I have with Tennessee is their passing offense isn't really that good. And that's what we've been kind of hanging our hat on with Tennessee. We know the defense is bad. Offense needs to put up 30-something points per game. I'm not necessarily convinced that each and every week they're going to be able to do that because I don't think the passing offense is that good. Julio Jones is going to be out. I know A.J. Brown is in, but they don't even have Corey Davis anymore. Like, there is no number 2 now. It's just A.J. Brown. It's just Derrick Henry. I actually think that offense is going to have slight problems. Kansas City looked a little bit better, albeit against Washington. But I do think Ryan Tannehill and this passing offense will have a little bit of problems against Kansas City.
Travis Kelce is likely to play with the neck injury. Tyreek Hill likely to play with the leg injury. There was some concern about those two throughout the week, but it looks like Kansas City will have the 2 big weapons for Patrick Mahomes and company. John, we have about a minute here. What else do you like on this card here in about 45 seconds?
Yeah, what else do we like on this card? I mean, do you want me to pick a 15, 16-point spread? I don't really like much on this card, to be honest with you. I'll go to the Monday night game at least. 5.5 is a lot for the Saints to cover. I don't care if it's Geno Smith. I don't care if the Seahawks aren't playing well. That's a lot to cover on the road. And I see right now that it's getting kind of bet down a little bit. But I think that's the right direction. The Seahawks are the bet here. That's way too many points for a team like New Orleans to cover on the road. They're the only team that has lost, by the way, to the New York Giants because of the turnover problems. They do have those issues, and this offense isn't that good. So I like Seattle. I think that's a big number for the Saints to cover.
He's Jon Jansen. Get him on the tweets at jjansen34. He hosts The Line Change on Fox Sports The Gambler. That's 102.5 FM in Philadelphia. John, thanks as always for being with us.
Of course, Jeff.
When we get back, we're going to continue Fade or Follow with the final selection in the consensus. That's next on VSiN's Betcenter.